half a day, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lydio Fulo,
And this is Joseph Kichichu.
and today we are going to present the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Our agenda today, we will just be going over the introduction, the history, the current status, the current governmental structure, effects of the CNMI's political status on their demographics, economy, day-to-day life, a conclusion, and then to end it off with some references. CNMI, also known as the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, is a trust territory of the United States. A trust territory is a dependent country administered by another country under the supervision of the United Nations Trusteeship District Territorial Dominion. It's located at the northwestern Pacific Ocean in the Mariana Archipelago. The CNMI is made up of 14 islands, which are the four main: Saipan, Guguan, Rota, and Tinian. Saipan, though, being the capital, and then the 10 largely uninhabited islands, which is Anatahan, Saraguan, Gujon, Alamagan, Pagan, Agrihan, Asuncion, Maug Islands, and Farallon de Pajaro. Now we will be going over the history or the timeline of the CNMI. Now to begin, 3,500 years ago, the ancient Chamorro inhabits the Northern Mariana Islands. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan visited Rota and claimed it as Spanish territory. In 1899, the CNMI sold to Germany after the Spanish-American War, while Guam was given to the United States. In 1914, Japan annexed the Northern Mariana Islands with Saipan as the hub. In 1920, the League of Nations officially gave control of the islands to Japan. In August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered and the US military took control. In December 1972, there was a debate of the Covenant with the states amongst the Marianas Political Status Commission. In February 15, 1975, the Marianas Political Status Commission signed the Covenant, which is a binding agreement between the CNMI and the United States. In February 20, 1975, the Covenant was approved by the Mariana Islands District Legislature of the United Nations Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands. In June 17, 1975, the Covenant was submitted to the people of the Northern Mariana Island voters in a plebiscite. July 21, 1975, the Covenant was approved by joint resolution adopted by the U.S. House of Representatives. In February 24, 1976, the Covenant was approved by joint resolution adopted by the Senate. In the same year, the Constitution was drafted by 39 delegates of the CNMI. In March 24, 1976, President Gerald Ford signed the resolution, which thereupon became U.S. Public Law 94 to 241, 90 Statute 263. In January 9, 1978, and November 4, 1986, the Constitution was made effective by the CNMI. In addition, the remaining provisions took effect. In January 1997, the enactment remains the only expressed amendment of any covenant provision. In November 1999, 21 proposed amendments failed to win approval from voters, including 19 amendments proposed by a third Constitutional Convention. In January 2020, voters have ratified at least 62 proposed amendments. So, what is our current status? Well, the CNMI is a commonwealth, which is a self-governing political entity which is attached to a larger political unit, permanent union with the United States. This also means that the United States has complete sovereignty over the islands. This can be found in the CNMI Covenant in Article 1, Section 101. The current government structure In the legislative branch, the CNMI Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, composed of House of Senate and Representative, meaning it's bicameral, which is basically a two-system house for the legislature, where one is based on a set amount per district, the Senate, and another for the number of representatives per district based on population, which is the representative. Section 2 outlines that the House of the Senate will have 9 members, each of the 3 from the 3 senatorial districts, which will be determined with at-large voting. District 1 is made up of Saipan and the Northern Islands. District 2 is Tinian and Aguijan. And District 3 is Rota. At-large voting. It means it's relating to or being a political representative who is elected to serve an entire area rather than one of its subdivisions. Section 3 outlines that the House of Representatives will have 14 members, 12 from Saipan and the islands north of it, 1 from Rota and 1 from both Tinian and Aguiguan, and not have more than 20 representatives at one time. They can, however, have a two-year term. In Article 2, Section 2, a senator shall be qualified to vote in the Commonwealth, at least 25 years of age, and a resident and domiciliary of the Commonwealth for at least 5 years, immediately preceding the date on which the senator takes office. A longer residency and domicile requirement may be provided by law. A domiciliary is concerned with the living in a home, meaning how long they've stayed there. Section 3 outlines a representative shall be qualified to vote in the Commonwealth, at least be 21 years of age, and a resident and domiciliary of the Commonwealth for at least 3 years, immediately preceding the date on which the representative takes office. A longer residency and domicile requirement may be provided by law. Moving on to the current governmental structure for the executive branch in Article 3, Section 1. The executive power of the Commonwealth will be vested in a governor who will be responsible for the faithful execution of the laws. The governor shall be qualified to vote in the Commonwealth, at least 35 years of age, and a resident and domiciliary of the Commonwealth for at least 10 years, immediately preceding the date on which the governor takes office. A different period of residence and domicile may be provided by law. No person convicted of a felony in the Commonwealth or in any area under the jurisdiction of the United States may be eligible for this office unless a full pardon has been granted. In Section 4, the governor and the lieutenant governor will be elected at large within the Commonwealth for a term of office of 4 years. The governor and lieutenant governor will be elected jointly with each voter casting a single vote, applicable to both offices. No person may be elected governor more than twice. Section 9. Their duties. The governor's submission to the legislature with respect to the budget will state the governor's disposition of the budgetary request contained in these submissions and may include legislations with respect to taxation. The governor will report at least annually to the legislature regarding the affairs of the Commonwealth and new measures that are necessary or desirable. The governor will have the power to grant reprieves, commutations, and pardons after convictions for offenses after the consultation with a board of parole to be established by law. And to define the three, reprieves means to halt or cancel punishment. Commutation is the conversion of a legal obligation or entitlement into another form. Example, gratia, the replacement of an annuity of series of payments by just one single payment. And a pardon is basically the act of being forgiven for an offense. Section 10. Emergency. The governor may declare a state of emergency in the case of invasion, civil disturbance, natural disaster, or other calamity as provided by law, and may mobilize available resources to respond to that emergency. A part of his cabinet are Section 11, Attorney General, the legal advisor to the CNMI. Section 12, the public auditor. The main duty of an auditor is to determine whether financial statements follow generally accepted accounting principles. Section 13, Department Head of Education, or the Superintendent. And their job is to foster some senior administrative position, which works with the school board to create and implement policies related to education. Section 18, Carolinian Affairs Head, a representative to advise in policy making dealing with Carolinian affairs. Section 22 is the Women's Affairs, which is a representative to advise in policy making dealing with women affairs. And Section 23, Indigenous Affairs, a representative to advise in policy making dealing with Indigenous affairs.
Now let's go to the current government structure of the judicial branch, Article 4. In Section 1, the judicial power of the Commonwealth shall be vested in the judiciary of the Northern Mariana Islands, which shall include one Supreme Court and one Superior Court, and such other inferior courts as may be established by law. In Section 2, the Commonwealth Superior Court will have original jurisdiction in all cases in equity and at law. The Superior Court will have all inherent powers, including the power to issue all writs necessary to the complete exercise of its duties and jurisdiction under this Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth. The Superior Court will consist of a presiding judge and at least 4 associate judges. For writ, it refers to a formal legal document that orders a person or entity to perform or to cease a performing a specific action or deed. Let's continue of the current government structure of the judicial branch. Article 4. In Section 3, the Commonwealth Supreme Court will hear appeals from final judgments and orders of the Commonwealth Superior Court. The Supreme Court will have all inherent powers, including the power to issue all writs necessary to the complete exercise of its duties and jurisdiction under this Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth. The Supreme Court will consist of a Chief Justice and at least 2 associate justices. In Section 4, a justice or a judge shall be at least 35 years of age, a citizen or national of the United States, have resided in the Commonwealth for at least 5 years before appointment, never have been convicted of a felony or any crime involving moral turpitude, and been a member of the Commonwealth Bar for 5 years. Now, let's go to the effects of the CNMI's political status. Under the demographic, according to World Leader, after the Covenant and the Constitution adoption by the near 1975s, the CNMI's population almost doubled every 10 years, capping at 57,000 inhabitants by the year 2000. It started with 14,000 in 1975, to 28,000 in 1985, to 45,000 in 1995, to 57,000 in 2000. According to Article 12, Section 1, the acquisition of permanent and long-term interests in real property within the Commonwealth shall be restricted to persons of Northern Marianas descent. Now let's go to the effects of the CNMI's political status under the economy. In Article 7 in the Covenant, it outlines the multi-year financial assistance the U.S. will provide to the CNMI to achieve a higher standard of living. And under those are $14 million equivalent, $8.25 million for government position, $4 million for infrastructure, and $1.75 million for Economic Development Loan Fund. Article 1, Section 1 outlines that traditional healing practices are not prohibited. Article 10, Taxation. In Section 8, the Department of Finance or its successor department shall control and regulate the expenditure of public funds. The department shall promulgate regulations, including accounting procedures that require public officials to provide full and reasonable documentation that public funds are expended for public purposes. Now, let's go to the effects of the CNMI's political status on a day-to-day life. According to the Covenant, only a CNMI, descent can buy and own the land. Those born in the CNMI are U.S. citizens according to Article 8. Article 1, Section 12. Abortion is outlawed. Illegal by the legislation, but legal by judicial ruling and legal review. A law passed in 1985 made abortion illegal, but a review by the Attorney General said it was legal in 1995. Women in the 1990s went to the Philippines to get abortions, but went to Japan or Hawaii by 2018 because of changing legality in the region. Article 9, Section 1, the initiative. The people may enact laws by initiative. An initiative petition shall contain the full text of the proposed law. If the petition proposes a general law for the Commonwealth, the petition shall be signed by at least 20% of the persons qualified to vote in the Commonwealth. If the petition proposes a local law that affects only the senatorial district, the petition shall be signed by at least 20% of the persons from the senatorial district who are qualified to vote. Continuing to day-to-day life of the effects of the CNMI's political status. Article 9, Section 2 is the referendum. The people may reject laws by referendum. A referendum petition shall contain the full text of the law sought to be rejected. If the law is a general law for the Commonwealth, the petition shall be signed by at least 20% of the persons qualified to vote in the Commonwealth. If the law is a local law that affects only one senatorial district, the petition shall be signed by at least 20% of the persons from the senatorial district who are qualified to vote. Article 9, Section 3, Recall Elected. In Section 3, recall elected public officials are subject to recall by the voters of the Commonwealth or of the islands or district from which elected. A recall petition shall identify the public official sought to be recalled by name and office, state the grounds for recall, and be signed by at least 40% of the persons qualified to vote for the office occupied by the public official. Lastly, on the day-to-day life, on the effects of the CNMI's political status. In Article 8, government leased land for defensive purposes, not owned, highlighted in the technical agreement. Article 8, eminent domain, the U.S. last resort. In 1993, the CNMI government took property from Maria Mangabao by eminent domain and used the property to improve a portion of Middle Road. The Commonwealth did not pay just compensation for the property. In 2008, over 10 years after the taking, the Commonwealth and the heirs entered into an agreement as to the value of the property. The trial court then entered a judgment against the Commonwealth for $4,196,524, the agreed value of the property. However, when the heirs tried to enforce this judgment with a writ of execution, the trial court refused to issue the writ. Concluding our presentation, the Covenant of the CNMI is a document negotiated between the United States and the Northern Mariana Islands that established the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as a self-governing political entity in political union with the United States. It outlines the basic rights and responsibilities of both the CNMI and the U.S. and establishes the political and legal framework for the CNMI's governance. Put simply, it is a binding agreement. And the Constitution of the CNMI is the fundamental law of the Northern Mariana Islands, adopted in 1977 and amended since then. It defines the structure and the powers of the CNMI government, including its executive, legislative, and judicial branches, as well as its relationship with the U.S. government. It also, it also includes a Bill of Rights that enshrines various rights and freedoms for CNMI citizens. It is because of the covenant and the constitution of the CNMI for both the positive growth and negative problems that arose after its birth. Thank you for watching our video. I am Joseph and my partner is Lirio. And here's our references.